Hey there, friends, and welcome to episode 337 of Just the Zoo of Us. This week, I have a very special guest joining me for World Tree Kangaroo Day, which is, if you're listening to this episode on the day it releases, today, May 21st. And what better way to celebrate than with senior conservation scientist at the Woodland Park Zoo and founder of the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program, Lisa Dabek, to put these charming ghosts of the forest in the well-deserved spotlight. We discuss the diversity of Papua New Guinea's cloud forests, where dinosaurs very much still have the run of the place, life as a joey in the towering treetops, a look at what went into designing a tree kangaroo habitat in the Woodland Park Zoo's new Forest Trailhead exhibit, and so much more. Just the Zoo of Us presents Tree Kangaroos with Lisa Dabek. Hi there, everybody. It's Ellen Weatherford with Just the Zoo of Us, your favorite animal review podcast. I am overjoyed. I am so thrilled today. I have a brand new friend joining this show from a place that is very near and dear to my heart, a place that is very special to me. So I'm so excited. We have Lisa Dabek. Say hi, Lisa.
Hi. Really nice to be here.
So excited to talk to you about a very, very cool animal. But before we talk about our very cool animal for today, I would like to talk about you a little bit. Lisa, I was connected to you through the Woodland Park Zoo here in Seattle, which very near and dear to my heart. That was my home zoo as a little kid. Inspired a lot of my love for wildlife and nature was like trips to the Woodland Park Zoo as a little kid. It's very, very special to me. So Lisa, I want to know how you got into the work that you do with animals and conservation. You have a remarkable career, and I would love to know how you got into that.
Well, thank you. And I didn't realize that you grew up with Woodland Park Zoo.
Yep.
So that's so great.
I used to be that kid that was begging my mom to take me every weekend.
Oh.
And she had to like find other stuff to do so that I wouldn't want to go back to the zoo every single week. I would go every day if I was allowed.
Well, I think you and I were quite similar as kids because I grew up in New York City. And so the Bronx Zoo was my zoo.
Wow.
And I loved it more than anything. So we would go there a lot. And I loved many of the animals there. But I think it really connected me to wild animals. And my mom said, I always loved animals more. I didn't play with dolls. I played with or plushies, and always wrote stories about animals and so on. So I always knew from a young age that I would do something with animals. And then I went to a school, it was the Ethical Cultures Society schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. And it was all about learning how to give back to your community and learning about ethics and so on.
Wow.
So for me, it was, I knew I wanted to give back to the world, but I knew it would be something with animals. And then the two kind of came together in college. I studied biology and then environmental studies. So that's what got me into conservation. I was actually studying marine mammals.
Wow.
So I studied whales, I studied sea lions, I studied seals. And then in graduate school at the University of Washington, pivoted, met people at the Woodland Park Zoo, actually, knew that zoos were a good place to do animal behavior. I was doing a PhD in animal behavior, and I was introduced to tree kangaroos. So that's my story.
What kind of animal behavior were you looking at?
So my area of interest was mother-young interactions
Wow.
and development of the young. So really, how do the young get raised and what do mothers do? What do the young do? And so studying tree kangaroos was fascinating because they have such a different way of raising their young, with pouches.
Yeah, I have to admit that, until a few years ago, I had never heard of tree kangaroos, did not know they could get up there in the branches. How did you, I know you mentioned that the Woodland Park Zoo was kind of how you got into this work. So how did you get connected to tree kangaroos?
I went to the Woodland Park Zoo, the head of research, and he was also the director of animal health, Dr. Billy Karish. And he sent me over to the Australasia section to meet with the lead zookeeper, Judy Steenberg. And she told me, she said, well, we have 2 tree kangaroo females with joeys in their pouch right now. And I was like,
oh my goodness.
Tree kangaroo? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, they don't go there. They don't go up there. They're on the ground. Check again.
Exactly. So she introduced me to the tree kangaroos and said that really no one had ever studied this before. And they had been part of a program where tree kangaroos had been brought in from Papua New Guinea to several zoos, and Woodland Park Zoo was one of them. And so it was pretty special. This was in the 1980s.
Wow.
And there haven't been any other animals that have come out of Papua New Guinea since then. But it was pretty special. And so I started studying them and I fell in love.
How could you not? Honestly,
especially the joeys.
Oh my God. Did you feel like you were being pranked a little bit? Did it sound like a drop bear sort of thing where they're like, yeah, we got kangaroos in the trees. Yeah, you better go look. Did you feel like you were being pranked?
Yeah, it was amazing because, for an animal, it's about the size of a raccoon. It's not like a tiny animal. That I had never heard of it because I thought I knew, so many animals in the world. But one of the things that was so interesting was they were known to be, or in the literature, primitive, marsupials are more primitive than other mammals. And then when I watched the mothers, and seeing the joeys in the pouch and how they grow up and the interactions with the mom, it was like, this is not primitive at all.
Right.
This is very complex. And especially for tree kangaroos, for the young to learn how to navigate in the trees.
I feel like I've seen that a lot whenever I've learned about an animal that maybe their lineage split off from the other groups like a long, long, long time ago, or maybe they have a lot of traits from their ancient ancestors that most of their modern relatives don't have. Then there's this expectation that they've just stayed the same the whole time.
Yes.
As if they haven't also been adapting and evolving
Yes.
at the same time as everybody else.
Yeah, and tree kangaroos very much have adapted to life in the forest. And they only live on the island of New Guinea and in northern Australia in the tropical forests. In New Guinea, where we studied them, they're in the cloud forests. So it's kind of a wet but cold. It's more like, Washington forest.
Yeah.
It's very similar, the temperature. And so they have very thick fur, and that's adaptive. And then also the color of their fur, it's kind of a cinnamon color. And when I first went into the cloud forest in Papua New Guinea and looked up at the trees, the moss was the same exact color as their fur.
Wow.
So they also adapted to be really cryptic, to be camouflaged.
What was that like, getting to go to Papua New Guinea and go work with the tree kangaroos? What was that experience like?
It was the most amazing experience in my life. Yeah, especially the first time. Where we work is a very remote part of Papua New Guinea. So the only way to get into the villages is to fly in. There are no roads into this area. So you fly on a little single engine plane, and then you land on a grass airstrip. And then it's a 2-day hike to get up to the cloud forest. So it takes a lot of effort to get up there.
What a commute. Anyone who's listening to this on their drive to work, perspective, dude.
Yeah, really. So I was quite fit back then. One thing about Papua New Guinea is that over 90% of the land is owned by the local indigenous people. So we are in someone else's forest. And so we had to get permission. And we were fortunate enough to be able to go in with what was considered the best tree kangaroo hunter. And so we hiked up with him, and he had hunting dogs because when they hunt them, they use hunting dogs. And we searched and searched and searched. And then Mampave, the hunter, he heard his dog call out a bark. And he goes, that's the bark when they see a tree kangaroo, a
Oh.
special bark. And so we then went running, to the tree, looked up, and there was the most beautiful tree kangaroo right up in the tree. Of course, I cried. It was pretty emotional, but it's an amazing forest, very pristine, absolutely beautiful. If you've been to the Hoh Rainforest in Washington State, it's kind of like that, only 100 times more diverse.
Right. I was recently doing a little bit of research on tree kangaroos for a separate project that I have going on right now. And when I was trying to look up reference pictures of like the habitat they live in, like the cloud forests and stuff. And every picture that I found, I was like, this looks like exactly like pictures I've taken in like the Cascade Mountains and stuff. I was like, that's so weird. This looks like, and it's not what comes to mind when having never been there. It's not what comes to mind when I think of Australia or Papua New Guinea.
Yeah. Yep.
There was that like temperate rainforest, right? It had the same sort of like, big thick blankets of moss everywhere. I was really surprised by how like familiar it looked.
Yeah. It's it's almost magical,
Right.
the moss, ferns, lots and lots of orchids.
Oh my gosh. The most ethereal flower.
For me, it's always a gift when I get to go into the field.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What kind of insight did you get from the people that you were working with there?
Well, we've been working with the communities in use, which is YUS. It's an acronym. It's this area for the Yupno, Orowa, and Som people. So we've been working there for 30 years. So it's a long time. And I've seen generations now. And what is most amazing is, for the use people, and I don't want to generalize, but, for people in use, tree kangaroos are very special to them. They're culturally important, but they also eat them for protein. It's the largest mammal in the forest, which is surprising to hear, that there are no other large mammals. They use their fur for, headdresses and so on. And so they have a deep respect for tree kangaroos, but they also utilize them. And so from day one, I was really taught by them, that you can respect them and you can also hunt them. And so our program, where we were trying to research and learn about tree kangaroos, but also learn how to protect them, it was all about how do you create a sustainable resource.
Yeah, that's something that I have heard from a lot of people that work with conservation organizations, that if you are working with a community that has long-standing traditions and long-standing practices of working with their environment, working with their local wildlife, that like, if you're going to try to come in and say, stop doing that, this is all wrong, it's going to crumble, it's going to fall apart. Yeah. And just working with like alongside the community to make sure that everything is being done sustainably and in a way that like can be long-term helpful for both.
Yeah. I mean, I think with tree kangaroos, what happened was they were being overhunted. And so it was really talking with the community about, do you want your children to be able to hunt? Do you want your children's children to be able to hunt? So then you need to figure out a way to have safe places for the animals to breed. So with them, we were able to set up a conservation area where there were no hunting zones. And they referred to those as wildlife banks. So areas of the forest where the tree kangaroos could breed, have babies, and then the babies could move into areas where they could hunt. And over the 20 years since the conservation area, the populations have really gone up.
Oh, that's
which is great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I have also heard that there are multiple types of tree kangaroos. That's not just one type. Was there one particular one that you worked with or focused on?
Yes. So when I first started working with tree kangaroos 40 years ago, there were 10 species. Now there are 14 species that are recognized. And part of that is, splitting, and subspecies that become species and so on. But
That's admin stuff. That's taxonomy stuff.
yeah, I tend to be a lumper, not a splitter, but whatever. Recognized by international standards, we have 14 recognized species of tree kangaroos. The tree kangaroo species that I study is the Matschie's tree kangaroo, and that is the one that is found in all the North American zoos. So that's what we have at Woodland Park Zoo. That's what's at San Diego Zoo, many other zoos, Miami Zoo. And where we study them on the Huon Peninsula of Papua New Guinea, it's the northeast part of the island of New Guinea, there is only one species. And that is the only place where you find the Matschie's tree kangaroo. So it is endemic to the Huon Peninsula.
Are there major differences between the different types of tree kangaroos, or are they all pretty similar?
Yeah, they are. And in terms of evolution, like they've split off and so on. So certain species are more closely related, like the Goodfellows tree kangaroos and the Matschie's tree kangaroos are more related. They have actually similar color fur and so on. Then you have the grizzled tree kangaroo, which looks much more like a ground kangaroo and spends more time on the ground. And then you have other species that look totally different. And then there are two species in Australia, the Lumholtz and the Bennett's tree kangaroos. And they look also very different.
Do you have a favorite? You got a favorite? I won't tell them. I won't tell the others.
That's so funny. Well, my goal is to see as many species of tree kangaroos as I can. And I sort of like halfway there.
Well, you got to catch them all.
Yeah.
You need to put them in your Pokedex. You need to fill it out. You need all of them.
Of course, I love the Matschie's tree kangaroo, but it's because I know that one the best. And I've spent so much time with them. I've also spent a lot of time with the Lumholtz tree kangaroo in Australia because I have a dear friend, Margaret Chinelli, who runs a bed and breakfast and wildlife lodge where she rehabilitates Lumholtz tree kangaroo orphans.
Oh,
if you ever want to
goodness.
see, yeah, she's pretty amazing in Queensland, in Atherton. So I've spent a lot of time with baby Lumholtz tree kangaroos, Joeys, that are just amazingly cute. Yeah, this is the thing I don't say, in the more scientific talks about how cute they are.
Oh, no. On Just the Zoo of Us, we have a whole section dedicated to how cute they are. We are going to go deep into how cute they are. I feel like not being academic or not being beholden to any scientific standards, I have the freedom to talk at length about how adorable things are.
Well, that's great. The first professor I had when I first came to the University of Washington, she said to me, she goes, there is a cuteness factor when you choose the animal you study. And I was kind of shocked, like, you can actually say that, you can do that. But yeah, you fall in love with the animals that you study. There's no doubt.
Yeah. And I do think, I know a lot of people who work with less charismatic animals, right? There can be a lot of, the more charismatic animals are getting a lot more attention and getting a lot more like research and stuff like that. But there's also that idea of them being like a flagship, like if people know that this incredibly adorable, very cute, cuddly looking animal lives in this rainforest, then maybe that's just the face of the operation, right? Whereas protecting the rainforest for the tree kangaroos is also going to protect the rainforest for everything else that lives in the rainforest.
Absolutely. They're definitely, we call them the flagship for the use conservation area and for the rainforest there. And there's the most incredible other animals like the long-beaked echidna, which is a monotreme,
Love that.
which is my second favorite animal in New Guinea. There's the cassowary, which I know you have done podcasts on. There's incredible birds of paradise. Frog species that are amazing.
Everyone forgets the frogs.
I know.
Nobody ever shouts out the frogs.
I love the frogs. Yeah, no, there was just recently a study on the frogs in the use conservation area. And then the insects, the beetles. Actually, there's incredible beetles in forests.
And also, like, if you're actually in those areas, like you mentioned, like it took you like days to get to where you could actually see a tree kangaroo, whereas you're probably going to see a frog. Like, you're probably going to see frogs. You're probably going to see beetles. Like, you know, they seem like a little more approachable and a little more accessible. And I feel like, you know, giving them a little shout out can help people be like, okay, here's a thing you would probably see. Here's a thing you probably wouldn't have to like hike for 3 days to see.
Well, actually, amazingly, a lot of the frogs in the rainforest where we work, you can hear them. And they have all different kinds of sounds. Like one of them sounds like an old typewriter, which is amazing. A lot of people wouldn't even know what an old typewriter sounds like.
The frog remembers. The frog remembers what it sounds like.
Exactly. Yeah, analog. And then you have frogs that burrow underground, and then you have frogs that have the loudest sound, but when you see them, they're like tiny little frogs. Yeah, the frogs are amazing.
Shout out to the frogs. They don't get enough love. They don't get enough hype. If this is anyone's first time listening to this podcast, our bit is that we rate animals out of 10 in different categories. And the first category is effectiveness, which we've talked a little bit about already. You mentioned things like their camouflage in the trees, ways that they've adapted to arboreal living. And so effectiveness is just how, like, the physical adaptations, things built into the animal's body that let them do a good job of the things that they're trying to do, whether that is find their own food or not become food themselves. So, Lisa, what do you give tree kangaroos out of 10 for effectiveness?
Good question. I would give them an 8.
Okay.
And the reason why I don't give them a 10 is I have seen joeys, so baby kangaroos, learning how to climb. This is in the zoos, fall out of the trees. So
you can't be doing that. It's too high.
Exactly. So it's probably why they stay with their moms for 18 months at least. So that's a long time to learn how to climb in the trees. So, and I would say that they're not always the most graceful animals when they're climbing.
Oh.
They don't leap like monkeys do. So they're not the ballerinas of the forest.
You know what? You don't have to look good getting there.
You just have to get there.
You just got to get there.
Yeah. And they do a great job of camouflage and the trees that they hang out in. And they love the big, big, big trees with lots of moss. They can really hide, and not be seen. Their biggest predator is the harpy eagle.
Oh, wow.
They call it the New Guinea eagle or harpy eagle. And they come down and they can grab them and push them down to the ground. But my guess is that it's rare, that they're eaten that way.
I had no idea that harpy eagles lived in New Guinea.
Yeah, it's a different type. It's not the South American harpy eagle. It's smaller than the South American harpy eagle. But it's an amazing bird, raptor. It has this
huge
booming sound. It's very huge, enough, that it could push a tree kangaroo down to the ground.
Yeah.
We had always thought that they only killed young tree kangaroos, but then we had a collared animal that the trackers found dead on the ground.
Oh.
And it had the scratch marks from a harpy eagle.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's its biggest predator.
How big is the tree kangaroo? I realize you mentioned that they're kind of like medium-ish size.
Yeah, they're about somewhere between 15 and 20 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very holdable.
Yes.
Very cuddleable size.
The size of my dog.
So you mentioned also that they're kind of like the largest mammal in this area too, right? That's not that big to be the largest mammal.
Not at all. In fact, so cassowaries are bigger, than tree kangaroos. So they're kind of the biggest meat source, cassowaries.
So dinosaurs still totally control this area. Like this area is still being dominated by the dinosaurs at this point.
Exactly.
You got eagles in the sky, you got cassowaries on the ground. You are not safe.
Really, that's why you want to be in a tree hiding.
It sounds like there's no safe option.
really.
It's funny because I'm thinking about how, like, you know, the asteroid taking out most of the dinosaurs at the time allowed mammals to kind of like get bigger and advance more, like, and get to evolve into like more dominant niches because of dinosaurs getting taken out. But like in this one part of the world, they're like, we're still on top, baby. No, thank you.
And you gotta love the cassowaries because they are amazing. The villagers, what they'll do is they'll find chicks and then they'll raise chicks in the village.
What?
So I've seen baby cassowary chicks. They're so cute, little
Oh.
striped chicks running around and stuff. And then as they get bigger, you know, they keep them enclosed and then they use them for food.
Oh.
But they're dangerous.
Yeah.
And so you have to be incredibly careful when you're raising a cassowary.
It would be like if someone was like, I'm going to start a farm for hippos. I'm going to start farming hippos. You're like, there's
Really?
easier ways. Yeah. But I guess like that's the biggest bird, right? Available in the area, and they don't fly, right? So they're not.
Yep.
They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
They will kick your teeth in though.
Yeah. I mean, they can kill a person. So it's, yeah.
Wow. I mean, you have to be a kind of a next level farmer, I think, to farm cassowaries. You know, you hear about people farming, like they'll be like, oh yeah, I got a farm. I got a couple emus out there. And you're like, wow, that's crazy. But you hear someone says, I got a farm with cassowaries on it. You're like, yes. Are you in armor? Are you wearing plate mail armor to work every day?
Yeah, they're really amazing. Yeah. There's also crocodile farming in Papua New Guinea, wow. But that's a whole other thing.
You mentioned that it was really difficult to get to where the tree kangaroos were in Papua New Guinea. Did it seem like they were sort of like intentionally like trying to stay away from where people were? Or is it just the nature of like the climate they're adapted to is just not the same?
So they're found anywhere from, I'm talking meters now, 1,000 to about 3,500 meters. So up to like 11,000 feet.
Oh, very high.
Yeah, very high, but not in the lowlands. So, you know, when you fly into a village, they're not going to be in the areas where people are because it's cut down, it's cultivated, there's gardens and so on. So that's partly why is that you have to get deep into the forest. And you also have to get high enough where they're located.
Does it seem like they're like really, really specialized into this type of environment? Or like, is there a little flexibility there? Like,
oh, interesting question. Well, they're mainly folivores, which means they're leaf eaters, but they're also considered generalists. So we have documented over 90 species of plants that they eat. And they also, in addition to leaves, they eat ferns, they'll eat some moss, they love some flowers, they love orchids. That's something they eat.
Imagine just like eating orchids, just casually, like that's just part of your diet.
It was so wonderful. We did back, I think it was 2009, we did a critter cam with National Geographic.
I watched a video about that like a few weeks ago.
Oh, great.
That was you?
Yeah.
That's so funny. I was just watching that video like a few weeks ago.
Oh, funny.
I think you were in the video too.
Yes.
That's funny.
So it was the only way that we could film tree kangaroos. They're incredibly elusive, so we're still trying to figure out how to document their behaviors. And so we put a collar on them. We couldn't do a backpack like they usually do with marine animals. So the animal was able to film itself, you know, up high, 100 feet up in the tree. And it started munching on an orchid species. And it likes the stem because there's a lot of water in it. And we were reviewing the video with the landowners, with our local research team. And all of a sudden they said, oh my gosh, we had no idea they ate that species of orchid. So that was incredible.
Yeah.
But it was just munching away on orchids 100 feet up in the tree.
So cool to get like a POV, to get to see the world from like their perspective. Because I watched the video.
Yes.
Like I said, I watched the video.
Incredible. And when it looks out.
Getting to see like the way that the entire forest looks from how high up they are.
Yes.
To me, I'm like immediately like I would be vomiting. I would be puking. I do not like being high up. I do not
Oh.
like heights. So when I saw how like casually they were up in these sort of towering heights, I was like, dang.
Yeah, so more recently, there's a graduate student, Arata Honda from Yale University, who's working in our area, who is setting up camera traps and video and still images up in the trees. He's trying to document the arboreal animals. And he got amazing footage of the tree kangaroos up there moving. So it wasn't from their perspective, it was, from a camera's perspective. And that, again, is all new for us because it's so hard to document them. They don't, acclimate to people. So if you're looking at a tree kangaroo, it's looking at you.
They see you before you see them.
Exactly. Very much so.
I mean, I imagine like humans are not particularly graceful at moving through the forest either, right? Like we're kind of stomping and smacking leaves out of the way and stuff. So we're probably not exactly sneaking up on them.
Yeah. Although we always work with our local counterparts, and they're the ones that find the animals. They either see a tail because their tails are so long hanging down, or they look for scratch marks on the trees, and then they can find them.
Hey y'all, we are going to take a quick break to hear from our friends on the Maximum Fun Network. When we get back, we are going to talk ingenuity and aesthetics for tree kangaroos, so stay with us.
I'm Graham Clark, co-host of Maximum Fun's Stop Podcasting Yourself, and I'm here with Max Fun member of the month, Matthew. Hello, Matthew. How are you?
Hi, Graham.
Thank you for supporting a thing that you love, that's something that you listen to. I do it as well, and I love being able to do that for the podcast that I listen to.
Plus, you're the kings of Boko.
Absolutely, we are.
I appreciate seeing those coming in.
Now, do you know what your perks are for being the member of the month?
I do. I mean, I get to talk to you, which is kind of the big thing. Of course, the
best.
the parking space.
Yep.
And I think there's $25 in the Max Fun shop.
And you also get a bumper sticker.
Oh, bumper sticker. That's right.
Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to add, talking to other people out there that are maybe considering joining Maximum Fun?
Knowing that you're supporting something that you like, that brings value and happiness to a ton of people, that's a good feeling. You're fighting the good fight.
Support the shows you love, including this one. Check the show notes for a link or go to MaximumFun.org/join.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeremy.
I'm Oscar.
I'm Dimitri. And we are the Eurovangelists.
We're a weekly podcast spreading the word of the Eurovision Song Contest, the most important music competition in the world.
Maybe you already heard Glenn Weldon of NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour talk up our coverage of this year's contest. But what do we talk about in the off-season?
The rest of Eurovision, duh. There are nearly 7 decades of pop music history to cover.
We've got thousands of amazing songs, inspiring competitors, and so much drama to discuss. And let me tell you, the drama is juicy.
Plus, all the gorillas and bread-baking grandmas that make Eurovision so special.
Check out Eurovangelists, available everywhere you get podcasts, and you could be a Eurovangelist too.
Ooh, I want to be one.
You already are. It's that easy.
Oh, okay, cool.
Since we were talking a little bit about like getting this insight into what they're actually doing and like what they're up to up there in the trees, the second category that we rate animals on is ingenuity. It's behaviors, things that the animal is doing, maybe ways that they're solving problems, ways that they're navigating their world, things that they're doing with their behaviors. What do you give tree kangaroos out of 10 for ingenuity?
Oh, I would say 10. I mean, think of climbing 100 feet up.
That on its own.
Navigating that, right? That gives you a 10. But also that they hunker down, like they curl up when it's raining, and they have a whirl of fur so that the rain just kind of drips down.
A fur gutter. They got a gutter. We got to work hard for those. We have to install them.
Right. They just have them.
We wish we had fur gutters.
But then they go up high. The local guys say that they will sun themselves when it is sunny, which is not that often. And then if they're trying to get away from a predator or people or whatever, they'll go up So their first line of defense is to go as far up as they can. But their last line of defense is to leap down. And they can leap, I've seen it, like 60 feet in the air. Yeah, it's amazing. And they land, the ground is very soft because it's that rainforesty, spongy kind of ground. But it's sort of like a cat where they land and they don't hurt themselves. They're kind of like, for a couple of seconds, they're kind of stop and then they run off or hop off, and they can move really fast if they need to.
That old kangaroo software boots back up. They're like, oh, wait, I'm a kangaroo. I can jump like crazy.
Exactly. And they boom. It's so funny. There's a plant called the fire plant, which is sort of like stinging nettles, and they just can run right through it and it doesn't hurt them at all. And so they just boom, go and get away.
They're leaving booby traps behind for us. You're like, go ahead, run through that.
Oh my gosh, that would hurt so much. Yeah.
Because I only moved to the Pacific Northwest a few years ago, and I did not yet know about stinging nettles. We did not have stinging nettles where I was from. And so I was just reaching down off the trail to try to take a picture of like a cool mushroom or something that I saw, put my hand down to like get my camera close to it, brushed right up against a whole thing of stinging nettle because I didn't know.
Right. If you don't know.
Didn't know.
Yeah.
And so like I didn't even know until like maybe a few minutes later. I'm like, my hand's getting really itchy. Like it started really itchy and then it just started like burning. And I was like, oh.
You learned.
Yeah. So not the most fun.
You never did that again.
Ew. I didn't think the plants were going to turn on me.
Well, fire plant is one of the few things that are a real problem in the New Guinea forest. People that have visited the forest with me have said that it's really quite a benign forest compared to other forests, like at least high up, because you don't have the venomous snakes at a really high altitude, and you don't have big carnivores. You don't have, so it's pretty safe there, except for the fire plant.
You mentioned earlier that the tree kangaroos, that you were interested in their parental behaviors. What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's really fascinating, the life cycle of a tree kangaroo. So the moms, they have pouches because they're true kangaroos. They're in the kangaroo family. So their gestation is very short. It's about 44 days.
Lucky.
I know.
I've done it a couple times. I would take 44 days.
Yes. Yeah. And so when the joeys or the babies are born, they're the size of a lima bean. And then they have to crawl up their mom's stomach. The mom sort of licks a little path for them. And then they go into the pouch and then attach. All the teats are in the pouch. They attach to a teat for 3 months, and they're just growing in the pouch. And at 3 months, you can start to see them wriggle and stuff. And then at 5 months, they poke their head out.
Oh, the best.
They start.
Best part.
Yes.
Best part.
And so really, it's in a way like a second pregnancy, but they're, alive and they're in the pouch growing. But it's a very safe way for the moms to raise their young. And then at about 7 months, they start venturing out of the pouch, but they go in and out of the pouch. To me, that's the most fun age to watch. And that's what I got to do when I was doing my first graduate work research on the tree kangaroos at Woodland Park Zoo, because they would try to climb, they would come back to mom. One of the young fell, and the mom ran down, got it back in the pouch, went back up. And ever after that, she was incredibly protective. So if her young was trying to climb up a little tree, she'd grab its tail and not let it get too far. So she was incredibly protective. And then at 10 months, they're completely out of the pouch. The mom doesn't let them back in, but they still put their heads in to nurse for another 4 months.
We're not totally like cut off yet.
Right. But they're not allowed in. And they're too big, I mean, the moms are,
Listen, as every college student who still goes home on the weekends to do their laundry knows, there's a transition, okay?
Right. And she's the one, she's like, you're not going back in. You can nurse. I'll feed you, but you're not going back in.
I'll give you dinner when you come over, but other than that.
Right, but you're not staying over.
I am cleaning your room out. You got to take this stuff.
Exactly. So then at 14 months, they're pretty much weaned, but they stay with their mom. They call it Joey at Foot.
Great band name alert. Great band name. Anyone starting a band, Joey at Foot. There's your name.
And then at about 18 months, sometimes the male Joeys, we've learned in the wild, they stay longer with their moms, but they're basically learning how to navigate in the forest. So it's a very long investment by the mom for small mammal or relatively small mammal. It's a long maternal young time period.
Does it seem like during that time, like the mother is like teaching, like actively teaching the Joey a lot? Like, is there a lot of sort of communication going on?
Absolutely. And there are vocalizations between mothers and young, but you see, like when the mother is eating food, then the baby, tries to steal some of the food from the mom or eats. And so they're definitely learning, what to eat. And then they follow their moms very closely. So they're learning how to, navigate and how to move. It's an incredible thing. And one of the things that I was studying was the difference between tree kangaroos and ground kangaroos. Tree kangaroos have a much longer pouch life, time with their mom, because it's a three-dimensional place that they're living.
Oh, true.
And they have to navigate versus being on the ground, where they just pop out and they're on the ground.
Yeah, that's true. They have a whole additional axis of movement that they have to learn to navigate.
Exactly. So that's why I give them a 10.
Yeah, I guess you got to be to like have that sort of spatial awareness. And also, I'm imagining probably a lot of spatial memory, right?
Yes.
Anyone who's ever tried to walk through the woods knows you have to like be really, really attuned to your environment to remember where you went and where you need to go next. Like I imagine the spatial memory is probably, you'd have to be.
Yeah, and they have favorite trees that they go back to. So we do GPS radio collaring to determine their home range. We can track them and they will go back to the same tree very often.
Does it seem like they're largely like sticking to themselves, or are they maybe like, are they more social, or are they kind of standoffish with others?
They're standoffish.
Standoffish?
I wouldn't say I mean, that's a bit of a judgment, but
I guess.
They are mainly solitary animals. You would only find, a female with her joey. So females have separate home ranges, and then the males travel among many females' home ranges. So their home range is much bigger. But you only see the males and the females together when they're breeding.
She's done with him. No, thank you. Goodbye.
Yes,
We're done here. Go on about your business. See you next year.
Exactly.
Now, I did do a quick Google search of tree kangaroo joeys, which I think is a great step into the last category that we rate animals on, which is aesthetics. It's just how nice this animal is to look at. As I mentioned, we will speak extensively on how cute they are because I do think it is important to discuss. What do you give tree kangaroos out of 10 for aesthetics?
15.
Is this maybe the perfect creature? Is this maybe like a perfect life form situation? Like this is the peak of animal?
I mean, a tree kangaroo joey, a furred joey, maybe not the little naked one.
You don't like the little hairless bald creature coming out of there? You don't like the little alien monster coming out of the belly? You don't like that?
Yeah, they look like little chihuahuas when they're first coming out. But a young tree kangaroo you can't get much cuter than that.
There is definitely a bell curve to how cute they are because I'm looking at a photo of a newborn looking out of the pouch. It is pink and bald, and the ears are also kind of floppy.
Yeah, they're kind of attached.
Yeah, I gotta say it has not grown into the look yet. There is a ramp up to the cuteness, and that this joey has not ramped up yet. It is at the low end of the bell curve, but the cuteness, by the time they get their little fur on them and they do have little floppy ears.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The Matschie's tree kangaroos have very furred ears. The Lumholtz tree kangaroos are not as furred that way. Yeah, so they also vary. So I'd say the Matschie's tree kangaroos are the cutest.
They have the little blonde face and the little blonde, like little tufts on the ears.
Yes.
They look like a little teddy bear. And then I am seeing a lot of pictures of them kind of standing on two legs, and they still do the kangaroo, like raptor arms, where like they got the puppy dog paws folded in.
But their arms are longer. So that's another difference between tree kangaroos and ground kangaroos, that their forelimbs and hind limbs are same size.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, right? Because
Yeah.
they'd have to be using a lot of arm strength to be getting up trees and stuff.
Exactly.
Now, what I want to know, something that you would have insight into that I would not, is are they as soft as they look? A lot of times you see an animal that has a big puffy coat and you think, wow, that must be so soft. But then they turn out to be like really like coarse and like, it doesn't end up being as soft as it looks. Are they as soft as they look?
They're pretty soft.
Oh, yes, you love to hear it.
And the young ones in particular, I've been very fortunate, and this is not, I don't do this very often, but when we're collaring animals in the field and a female has a joey at foot with her, we don't collar the joey, but we're able to, take blood samples and do checks and measurements and so on. So I get to hold the babies.
Oh my God.
And that is about as soft as you can get. Yeah.
They look so, and also part of me is thinking like when you have that sort of like really, really dense soft fur, and I'm also imagining the humidity of the environment, part of me is like that mold must go crazy.
Well,
mold loves to see them.
No, it's unlike like sloths or, where you might get it's still cold because it's cloud forest and it's high elevation. So it's wet, but it's not that hot, humid Florida.
I know that's where I'm from. So that's why I'm thinking like, ooh, Mold City.
Yeah, no, you don't get that. And people always ask like, why do they have such a thick fur? They live in the rainforest, but it's the cloud forest, high elevation.
Now, when you're working with conservation for tree kangaroos, I'm also as surprised as you are that like more people don't know about them. They're adorable.
Yes.
I feel like they are, hot take alert, sorry guys, perhaps cuter than a koala. Sorry.
Thank you.
Don't come for
Thank
me.
you.
Don't email me. Is that something that you feel like you guys really kind of lean into when talking about conservation?
Absolutely.
I would imagine it helps, right?
Yeah, I mean, once you see a tree kangaroo, you fall in love. You can see how cute they are, but they just haven't gotten the attention. So I compare them to red pandas. Like red pandas have gotten so much attention and they're everywhere. And so I loved red pandas. And the Woodland Park Zoo, our new exhibit that's opening in May, will have tree kangaroos next to red pandas.
Perfect.
And it's one of the very few exhibits in the country where they have both animals side by side.
Your one-stop shop for adorable animals.
Yeah, I mean, they're both really cute, but why red pandas are known and tree kangaroos aren't. So my goal in life is for everyone to know about a tree kangaroo. That's why I'm so happy that you're doing this podcast.
I'm so happy that you talked to me about them because like I mentioned, like there are a lot of insights into them that you have had through your years working with them and being in the place where they live that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get that kind of insight just from like reading about them in a book or, going to see them in the zoo. There might be a lot of like context that you're missing if you don't, but not everybody has the chance to, fly out to New Guinea and hike for a few days to go see them. So that's why I'm so glad to like get the insight and like get to hear some more about like not just the animal itself, but like the context it lives in and like the environment that it lives in and what it's like to be there.
Yeah, it's a very special place and the people are very special. I always say it was the tree kangaroo that got me to Papua New Guinea and it's the people that keep me there. And we've had an amazing relationship with the youth communities for 30 years now. Yeah, we're celebrating 30 years. I'm going in a month back to Papua New Guinea, and we're going to have a big celebration in Bungawat village.
Wow.
So one of the villages where everybody's going to be celebrating. And it's really celebrating their commitment to conservation and them as stewards of the forest. Yeah. We have a what we call a One Health approach, which is health of humans, wildlife, and the environment. So we're always thinking about all three of those when we're working with the communities.
Yeah, like humans are also part of the ecosystem.
Exactly.
And a very impactful species in the ecosystem. So,
Yes.
like with any other keystone species, right? Like the health of one is going to impact the health of all the others.
Exactly. So that's been a really great way to, work with the communities where we support health, education, livelihoods. So we have a coffee, we have a use conservation coffee, tree kangaroo coffee.
I'm in immediately. I'm literally drinking coffee right now.
Oh, okay.
Big coffee drinker. So I'm in.
You'll be able to get used coffee at Woodland Park Zoo. So that's also exciting. We've been doing that for the last decade. And it's a wonderful way to tell the story, to get people, and especially in Seattle when people love coffee.
I mentioned this to you earlier, but I got to see a tree kangaroo. I think it's the first time I've ever actually seen one at the San Diego Zoo a few months ago when I was there. I got a really cute picture too. Like the kangaroo was like out and where I could like see it pretty well, which was really cool.
Oh, great.
But it is also a very, very different climate there. San Diego is very low. It's very warm. It's quite dry. I found it to be like, so very different climate there. I imagine the kangaroos are going to feel pretty at home in Seattle.
Yes, this is the perfect environment for them. So the new exhibit has it's the first time having these really large outdoor enclosures with a real tree, and it's 30 feet high. So it's wonderful. We moved our male tree kangaroo Rocket from his behind the scenes enclosure to this new exhibit. And I got to watch him just explore the new exhibit. And he just looked so happy, like, oh my God, it's first time ever being, in a real tree high up. And so it makes me very happy that we're giving them such a good home.
So have they been just behind the scenes the whole time?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild to me.
Yeah, for 10 years. I mean, they've had a nice indoor-outdoor enclosure, but only when we give behind-the-scene tours have people been able to see them. So it's been 10 years of us doing our work in Papua New Guinea, but not being able to show off their ambassador tree kangaroos. So that's why it's really exciting having this exhibit open.
Were you like involved with the planning of the exhibit? Like, what did your work on the exhibit look like?
I was able to give advice like giving photographs of the forest in New Guinea to the exhibit designers so that they could see what the forest looks like. I worked with the zookeepers, the animal care staff, where we talked about what are the needs of the tree kangaroos in an exhibit for climbing. You can't just have a tree without vines or other things for them to grab onto. They like a lot of diagonal kind of surfaces to climb on. So we were able to give a lot of input. And then we have a whole section called Conservation Gallery, where we're telling the story of the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program. And I had a lot of input in that as well. And then we have a whole section on the coffee. So I think it's going to be a really wonderful experience for people to go to actually see the animals, both red pandas and tree kangaroos, and then learn why both of them are so special and how they're both flagships for conservation.
Yeah. I feel like every few years there's this like cute animal du jour where like every few years there's like one cute animal that like everyone's obsessed with and you see on merch everywhere and it's on every design. So like a few years ago it was sloths. Like sloths had a big moment where everything had sloths on it. And then I feel like last year, maybe 2 years ago, we had pygmy hippos. Everything had hippos on it. I feel like the tree kangaroos are ready. They're ready.
Wow.
It's time.
Well, I'm there. So yeah.
We need to get some merch.
Well, we have a program called Tree Kangaroo Safe, which stands for Saving Animals from Extinction. And that's through the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. So AZA has a safe program for many different species. So we run one for tree kangaroos. And we have an engagement and awareness committee who's really working on getting merchandise, of getting, information out. In fact, May 21 every year is World Tree Kangaroo Day. And we encourage all zoos and people in Papua New Guinea to celebrate World Tree Kangaroo Day.
Great way to celebrate. Go check them out at the Woodland Park Zoo.
Exactly.
Get your friends together. Say, hey guys, what are we doing for Tree Kangaroo Day? We need to come up with a celebration plan for World Tree Kangaroo Day. Here they've got,
Yes.
I hear they got them at the Woodland Park Zoo. So come check them out. And like I mentioned earlier, I grew up in the Woodland Park Zoo. I had really, really fond memories. We moved back to Florida for most of my life. And then as an adult, when we were thinking about moving to Washington, my husband and I did sort of like a scouting mission where we visited Seattle for a week to see if we liked it enough to move here. And I was very adamant that I was during this week, we have to go to the Woodland Park Zoo. I have to go back.
Oh, really?
Because I had not been there since I was a little kid.
Wow.
And we went on my birthday.
Oh, what a great way to spend your birthday.
It was my birthday. And it had, obviously in the probably 20 years since I had been there, it had expanded. There were a lot of new exhibits. There was new stuff. And so a lot of things I was like, wow, I've never seen this before. But really just a great way to spend a day. I had a really good time. And now there's tree kangaroos.
Yeah, you'll definitely have to come. And if you want me to take you to the exhibit, I'm happy to do that.
I'm so there. Well, Lisa, for anyone who is feeling maybe inspired and is like, wow, I have a new favorite animal, where would you recommend that people go next?
Yeah, so we do have a website, treekangaroo.org. Definitely look up the Tree Kangaroos Safe program through AZA, and then come to the Woodland Park Zoo, see our new exhibit. But if you Google tree kangaroos, you'll learn about the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program, and it will probably send you to our website. We also have a book, but it's a little bit more of an academic book, but it's called Tree Kangaroos, Science and Conservation. And it has chapters all about everything from taxonomy to behavior to animal health, and then also all about our conservation work as well. There's a lot of ways to find out about tree kangaroos, and then tell your friends. Share the knowledge about tree kangaroos and how they're the flagship for conservation in the cloud forests of Papua New Guinea.
No gatekeeping here. Spread the word.
Yeah, if each person tells two people.
A pyramid scheme.
Yes.
The conservation pyramid scheme.
Again, my goal is for everyone in the world to know about how wonderful tree kangaroos are and to know what a tree kangaroo is.
We need one of those obnoxious chain text messages that's got 1 million emojis in it. That's forward this to 10 people. If you get 10 back, you're the best or something like that. We need an obnoxious emoji chain text message.
Okay, are you going to start that?
Yeah.
That's great.
Brace your inbox. Well, Lisa, this has been so much fun getting to talk to you. Thank you so much. I learned a lot, not just about tree kangaroos, but also about the cloud forests and conservation. Also, just to repeat, I'm very excited that I got to talk to you because of how much the Woodland Park Zoo means to me and has always meant to me.
Well, that's great.
Lisa, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. It has been an absolute delight.
Well, thank you. It's really been fun and it's been really great. And you really did your homework on tree kangaroos. You asked some really great questions. So thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it. And, like I said, this is why I like getting to talk to experts and people who have been out on fieldwork. Because there's no way I would get an answer like that, right? From just Googling around. Believe me, I've tried. These answers are not easy to find. So I appreciate you sharing them with me. It has been such a great time, and I will see you at the zoo soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thanks, Lisa.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope there's room for this episode in your pouch. If you liked what you heard, I would love it if you left behind some kind words for us in a review on your podcast app of choice. If you want to come hang out with us online, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, Blue Sky. Links to everything will be in the episode description. You can also send me an email at ellen@justthezooofus.com if you have a cool animal you'd like to hear us talk about on the show. We'd like to thank Maximum Fun for having us on their network alongside the other amazing shows like the ones that you heard promos for earlier during this episode. If you want to learn more about the network and how you can be a part of supporting our show, plus get access to our exclusive monthly bonus episodes over at MaximumFun.org. Finally, we'd like to thank Louis Zong for our theme music. That's all for today. We'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
directly
by you.